Hey all, this is Andy Hill, and you're listening to The Business Side of Music.
Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to The Business Side of Music.
This is Bob Bender. You're listening to this edition of The Business Side of Music. Today we have with us in the studio, or should I say over the phone, Dawn Beyer. She comes to Nashville by way of Sag Harbor, New York, and then East Texas. She's been in the Nashville area for probably a little over a decade, if we do the math. She's
Don't tell.
Well, we won't. You've appeared on the Nashville Unplugged TV show. I noticed the episode that I watched. You had Whiskey Jack performing with you, which is cool because we've had Travis Meadows as one of our artists on our TV show, and Whiskey Jack was playing with him that performance too. So that was very cool.
Oh, he's amazing, isn't he?
Oh, he is. He's fantastic. You did an amazing cover of George Jones' "He Stopped Loving Her Today." That's on YouTube. Love that. What really intrigued me to get you onto the show was your post that you had on Facebook, A Girl and Her Guitar Mini Tour, which starts May 1st. So by the time people listen to this, you'll be out there on the road. So Dawn, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
A couple things I want to touch on. First of all, you have therealnashville.com, which when I looked that up is so different than what so many artists are doing out there today. You're not beholden to a record label or a management firm or a booking agency. You're pretty much doing it all on your own.
Right.
And I also noticed that at the same time, you also have several artists. So you've almost created this consortium of other artists to be on there with you.
Well, it started with me doing The Real Nashville, and honestly, the Real Nashville name just came from me kind of joking around. You know, they have the Nashville show, which all of my friends in Nashville, we'd catch an episode or two once in a while of that show, and it would be so funny because I'd be playing on Broadway, and the set behind me would be the set for Nashville for after the bar closes, and then Nashville comes in and films the show Nashville.
Right.
So I thought it was so funny that I started seeing some stuff in the show that I was like, wait, that's not how it actually happens. It's not this glorious, and we don't get breaks, and it's not what it looks like in the VIP section. There's usually not one on Broadway, and so I started just joking around, hashtagging The Real Nashville. And then I started just showing my friends downtown on Broadway singing their original songs and stuff like that. And then just started using that hashtag and doing stuff, and started my whole thing online doing that. And when Facebook Live started, it changed my whole world. Facebook Live did. That happened, and then it just became therealnashville.com. And now I can actually, help my friends out too, putting them on these big platforms where they can get their stuff heard.
So with regards to your friends that you have, are these fellow artists that you discovered in town that are really kind of seeking the same goals that you are, or how do these relationships come about?
It's basically, it's just a group of independent. So The Real Nashville is just an independent artist group. So I don't even say we're a label or any of that. It's just an independent artist group where, hey, if I have something I can help you with, I'll help you out as my friend. They'll help me out, and we're all trying to stay independent. Now I do have some artists that I ended up doing some stuff with where we have agreements and things like that, but we do it totally different. We do it as artist to artist, not we're signing you to this label and you have to do these certain things to be a part of it.
Well, and I think the future of the industry, and we've talked about this quite a bit as people listen to other episodes of our podcast, is, and one of the things let me jump back just a little bit. One of the things I absolutely love on your website is, in big letters, the rise of the uncompromised.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that speaks volumes. The record labels aren't what they used to be. Heck, Music Row isn't what it used to be. It used to be you'd see a record label and a management firm and a booking agency and a recording studio, and then it would repeat itself. And it's not that way anymore. It's now becoming condos and office buildings and such. So the industry has changed. But it's changed in such a way, and this is what really intrigued me towards getting you on the show was, you're the founder and the creator of Real Nashville. You're really among one of the many underground artists, I guess we could say. I think I read that on your site. Once again, you're not hanging your shingle up, going out and looking for a deal, or maybe I should say waiting for a deal to come. You're actually out there, you're hoofing it, you're working the streets trying to get what it is to get yourself discovered. And I agree. I think Facebook Live is that one component that has been missing that's now into play.
Right.
People go to your Facebook page, they can see you perform live. You also have the Live in the Fort that I came across, the first annual camping trip. I mean, you're doing all kinds of really cool things. And then, as I said in the beginning, you have a Girl and Her Guitar mini tour, the living room concert. Tell us a little bit about that.
So my idea was, when I'm going out on the road now, as like we've been talking about, kind of doing it all myself the way I'm doing it. I only have if I need help with something, it's one of my family members that are helping me. I mean, I'm doing everything on my own, my booking, contracts, my shipping, everything. And we've got a lot of merch and stuff like that, and albums going out and stuff like that now. So it stays really busy. And when I'm thinking about going on tour, I'm like, well, it doesn't make sense. If the way that I was introduced to everybody who actually follows me and listens to my music right now online was with my guitar. So it didn't make any sense for me to do a big band thing when all the albums I saw were also acoustic albums. I'm just now recording my first full band album. All of them have been acoustic. And the cool thing about it is I've just put myself out there exactly how I am. And that's the cool thing about online. And then you just let the people decide. They start sharing and they start making their own radio stations, which is super cool. And so it didn't make sense for me to take a full band out like we would think to do. Like, we're going to go on tour, we should buy all this stuff, take a band out, get sponsors and all this. And so instead, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go out on tour acoustic from living room to living room. So basically, the living room will have a host that we book with, and then that host will, talk with listeners who contact them that wanting to come into the living room and listen. So it's going to be a setup like it would be if I want, like how I would like to hear a concert, when I'm home or whatever. I want a small area where I can really listen to the music. And these are people who have been really listening to my original songs. So they actually really want to hear it. And so the way I figured out that the name of this tour and how I would do it was I was playing at a bar recently, and I haven't been playing at bars very often. I've been just, getting booked privately and doing that since I've been doing the online stuff.
Right.
Because then you have people who really have been listening to your music and want to hear that music. Whereas like if you go play a bar, it's just the way it goes, what they hear on the radio.
The bar music, right, yeah.
Right. So I went and did play a bar and had some of the listeners from online come in, and what I noticed was how frustrated they were getting because the people that were in the bar that didn't know us were being loud, and then they were trying to really listen. It just doesn't work in a bar setting. So the living room live is how we kind of came up with, we'll just go from living room to living room and get people that maybe they want to have a bonfire instead, and that works, or whatever they want to do, but they can also decide how many people do they want in their living room, how many people can RSVP. We're going to bring in the whole album, table and the sound system, everything, set everything up and do an hour show at each one of these living rooms. And I mean, for September, I'm completely booked from the 1st to the 30th. For May, when I start this thing, I'm booked up going from Nashville all the way to Washington and back, and just doing living rooms. So it's pretty cool.
How many dates all told do you think you're going to wind up doing?
Right now we have, I think, every day in September is booked up. And then May, what I did with May was I only just started booking May like at the last minute, like, hey, I'll just put May on there too. And we ended up, I think we've got 15 to 20 stops already set up. So we'll just be going, and then we're going to stop it. When we're close to somewhere, what's really cool about online is I can pop online and be like, hey, I'm in Oklahoma City right now doing a show, but we've got about an hour if anyone wants us to come by and sing,
And where did you come up with the concept for this? I mean, I've heard other artists doing living room shows.
Yeah, it was just me playing at that bar and realizing that it wasn't how it was going to work, and I need to be coming to the people exactly how I've been doing it, like with just my guitar acoustic up close. And that's the thing about when you start to do, for any artist that's listening, when you start to do Facebook Lives, you have to have the ability to come through a camera to be able to really connect. And to do that, you have to really be focused and connected on what you're doing at that moment, which is why we talk about, in that course that I created, I talk about not filming live on Facebook when you're doing an actual show somewhere, because you want to focus in on on the audience that you have, and try not to split your attention, because you can definitely feel it when your attention's split. But the way I've been doing it up close, like I've been doing it needed to be that same way. So that's kind of how I came up with that idea. And I've always just kind of said, hey, it's just me and my guitar, so a girl and her guitar made sense.
When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about some of your other things, especially like, Live in the Fort, and just get your insight on where you see the music business going from your perspective when we come back.
Awesome.
This is Bob Bender. We're in the studio today with Dawn Beyer. You're listening to this edition of The Business Side of Music.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Hi, this is Vinny Rebus, the founder of Indy Connect. Our goal is to ensure that you have the knowledge, the tools, skills, resources, and connections that you need to develop a profitable and long-lasting career in music. One way we do this is through these Business Side of Music podcasts. I'd also like to invite you to check out Indy Connect magazine, our free multimedia online publication packed with practical interviews and advice from music industry experts. Go to www.indyconnectmag. That's www.indyeconnectmag.com. Let us walk with you and guide you every step of your musical journey.
You're listening to the business side of music.
This is Bob Bender. We're in the studio today with Dawn Beyer. You mentioned it, and I saw it earlier. What this program, is this something that you teach to other people, other artists, or?
So what happened was when I pushed the button go live when Facebook first started. When Facebook first started with the go live, I mean, it was at a moment when I was at a loss with how I was going to get my music out there.
Right.
And I started playing on Broadway, and I was just hitting Broadway, trying to just make enough just to get by. And what happens is that puts you in that cycle where you can just never, you feel like you can never get out of it. And I'm telling you, there's some people that I've seen that don't, and that's sad. So I think that what happened was the night that one of the nights I came home and I was just like, how am I going to do this? What happened was I saw that go live thing on Facebook. I'm like, look, right away, it just kind of came to me of like, I'm just going to start going live, put a virtual tip jar up, just like I do on Broadway. And so I just started putting my PayPal link up there. And after a while, it started catching on. I'm just like, oh my gosh, once it worked once, I was like, there's no way like I would go live, get done and be cleaning the kitchen and somebody would tip me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like, you know how like something works when it works the first time, like if you have something for sale and one person buys it, then it works. Mm-hmm. It's something that somebody would buy. When I knew the tip jar worked, I was like, this is amazing. So I just started hitting it hard, just singing online all the time and built that up until literally I didn't even need to play Broadway anymore. I moved out of the place I was in. I started going on the road. I mean, I came from living in a shack. And before that, I was living in a tent for 30 days. So I came from living in a shack right before all this happened with Facebook Live and stuff. And so in 2 years' time, where I'm at now, it's just unbelievable to see where I am now compared to there. So I created a program, and I'm actually working on right now called Making It on Facebook. But my website is called The Real Making It. And so basically on my first course, I'm just talking about making it and what it means to really make it, because I feel like getting that clarity is what kind of put me full speed ahead at, doing what I really love to do. And I think it came with getting the clarity of like, okay, the dream of Nashville, for example, for like a singer, the dream is you get there, you try to get a record deal, you beat the streets with your guitar and you try to get heard and have someone just kind of, you kind of imagine it like they're just going to pick you up off the street and give you a record label deal. And then boom, you're just going to, be there and it's going to be big venues and all this stuff, but not every artist really wants that. I think it's just the dream that it's just the dream. It's like, well, if I sing, I might as well go to Nashville and do this. And for me, it didn't feel like that. I was like, this doesn't feel like it's really what I want. It feels like what I'm just chasing because that's what you do when you're a singer and you want to just play your music for a living. So I felt like I'm supposed to chase this dream. Well, getting clear with what making it was, because I kept having people on Broadway like come up to me like, hey, you're a really good singer. You should try to actually sing for a living. I'm like, well, that's what I'm doing. I'm singing for you guys, or they say,
wait a minute, I am doing this for a living.
Yeah. And it's perception. It's like, you're pretty good. I hope you make it one day. Or how come you haven't made it? You're so good. Or why aren't you on the radio? You're so good. And it's like, it's almost like that's the perception of like, that is what it is. That's what making it is for a singer, So they just assume that that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get on the radio. And it always didn't feel right for me. And I'm like, I wonder why I feel so weird when people say that to me. And then that kind of brought me to getting the clarity of, okay, maybe I need to figure out what making it actually is for me. And maybe it's different. Maybe making it for me is traveling around, playing my music with my friends, playing acoustic guitar, playing my original songs and connecting with a group of 20 to 30 people and really connecting with them. Maybe that's making it. So I think it's different for everyone. And when I got the clarity for me of what it was for me, all of a sudden, all these doors started opening, just like once I was clear on what making it really was for me. So my website's called therealmakingit.com. the first program is called The Real Making It. And it's just kind of taking you through the questions that I asked myself and got some clarity there on like, okay, this is what I love to do, but what's making it for me? What is my dream? And maybe what is the dream that I've been chasing because it belongs to maybe my father or my mom or someone that wants that for me. And so it's kind of different for everybody. Right now I'm working on the new program called Making It on Facebook. And so that one's going to launch this week. And it kind of comes second to kind of getting that clarity of what making it means for you.
And I think that's, once again, how the business has changed. A couple things you said there. Getting in front of an audience of 20 or 30 people who truly appreciate you and your music and are there for that particular reason versus playing in a bar, say on Broadway or in Los Angeles or in Austin, and you've got 300 people or 500 people packed in a bar and they're all drinking and rowdy and not hearing anything. I know that my wife and I, who produce a television show, every time we shot that in a theater, we shot it in front of a live audience, but typically it was only anywhere from 20 to 30, 40, maybe 50 people on a really good night for a couple of reasons. First of all, we wanted to be able to control the dynamics of what was going on. We did make the mistake one time of we had an open door for a show, and the artist that performed, several of his fans showed up, and they'd been partying all evening getting there, and it was a really rowdy experience, which a lot of people may appreciate. But when you're filming a television show and you have all of those high production costs involved, you have to go back and do a lot of editing to take that out. But more importantly, the people that are there to see the artist are there to see the artist and become a part of that intimate experience. So the living room concert, whether it's in front of 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, really allows you to almost have that one-on-one with that fan base.
Right. And the fun thing that's different about what I'm doing is I'm actually, a lot of these people know each other by now. So I'm actually opening that up to like, hey, if you feel comfortable with some of the listeners coming, you can have them come in, which is kind of, I think this is the first time someone's really done that type of thing where it's not just like a house party private event. It's like we're opening this living room up to anyone in Oklahoma City, up to like 30 people that want to come in and really just sit and listen.
Is there a fee or a ticket or a price to get in, or how does it work?
So basically what I did was I have my event fee, which is what that's all I've been doing this last year, is just going from house to house. I mean, flying, from house to house. I'm like, I got to do something. I want to do something different. I'm going to get out on the road and just drive, cross country or something, do something like that with a trailer and with all the stuff, and come in and set up everything and take some fun videos and things like that. And plus just getting on the road with my friends. And I decided that's what I wanted to do. And so what I did was I took the booking fee that my booking fee actually normally is, and I just brought it down to half. And even at some of these places, even under half, just to basically the host pays that. And the reason they pay that fee and it's discounted is so that we can also have a few people come in. If there's like 10 people that want to come. And
one of the things I like, it was a quote you had on your website, which I really think kind of encapsulates all this into a nutshell. You said, 1 year later, and I no longer smell like smoke or sing longer than my voice can handle. I travel the country singing my own songs. I record my own records, make my own music, pay for my own merch, and have awakened into a dream. I dream to just play my music with no compromises, thanks to you, the listeners, who turned off your radios and started choosing your own music. It really kind of says it all in a nutshell for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, we totally understand, on Broadway, it's like we understand why everybody wants to hear the same 10 songs. I mean, we all do when we're hanging out, having fun. It's what we've heard all day long. And so when people turn on, and it's not to just say, turn off your radio all the time. It's like, turn off your radio once in a while, just to be able to give yourself a chance to find all this music that's out there. You know what I mean? That no one's hearing.
Well, and I think that's it right there, because there's so much great music out there that's not getting on the radio. For every song on the radio, there's 1,000 songs out there that are just as good by someone who hasn't been discovered yet. And not everybody that is great gets on The Voice or American Idol. Not everybody that's got amazing talent gets a record deal. And even if you do get that record deal, that doesn't guarantee you're going to get played on the radio. So as an independent artist, you have to find other ways to get discovered and get your music out there.
Yeah, you got to and that's the thing about, even about labels these days, if if this is something that I talk about, when I'm talking about these courses that I'm creating, I mention old Nashville and new Nashville because it's an old Nashville way of thinking to think that you're going to get to Nashville and sit around playing at writers' nights until someone picks you up out of there and puts you on the radio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or to just, it's like we're sitting around and waiting. It's almost, there's also this old Nashville thing about, keep all your songs to yourself and hide your music and stuff, because once you get a record, label executive finds you, they don't want your stuff to be all out there and everything. And so you want to keep it all hidden until and then it's like this big surprise, like they pick you up, they put you on this big platform, and there you are, and no one knew about you till then. Well, that's like the worst thing you can do now. I think it's like now we have these platforms, and the first thing I think a record executive is going to ask you if what you want is a record label deal. What they're going to ask you is how much following do you have on Facebook? How many people are downloading your music right now? They want you to do that work for them now. That's the platform's there. It's all there. So all it shows is that we're not working very hard. We're not out there at all. Nothing's happening. We've got no following, and because we can put ourselves out there. And it's just mainly about, like, is your music good? I mean, is it something that somebody wants to take and share? Because you can put yourself out on this platform and just see where it goes.
Yeah, and that really becomes the litmus test, whether you have something that everyone, or at least a niche audience, is going to enjoy.
Yeah.
When we come back, I want to pick your brain a little bit about advice you would give an upcoming artist. You've literally have gone, from New York to Texas to Nashville, and as you said, from a tent to a shack to now on the road doing 20, 30 dates in a month. And we talked a little bit about the real making it. So when we come back, I want to, with everything that you've learned, now that you've got all this experience, what you would suggest or offer to a young aspiring artist who just moves to Nashville.
Awesome.
This is Bob Bender, and you're listening to this edition of The Business Side of Music.
You're listening to The Business Side of Music. Next up, the Indie Artist Spotlight, brought to you by Reverb Nation.
Hi, this is Anna Tamburella, and I'm a member of Reverb Nation.
Laugh until we cry, and cry until we laugh, and doing stupid things that we all wish we could take back, like climbing water towers so we could see the stars, but jumping off the ladder 'cause we're scared of this far, and driving around in circles on the same four streets, music up so loud so we can't hear ourselves sing. Oh, 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 oh.
I'm based out of Birmingham, Alabama, but I'm currently a freshman studying music at Auburn University.
Get where we're going, we forgot to put on the brakes.
My music is considered singer-songwriter.
It's like I blink twice, turn around, and all of a sudden it's me. We were just underneath those Friday night lights, saying how we wish these nights could last. So how did we get here so fast? Oh,
I've performed at CMA Fest, opened for Bobby Tomberlin, Confederate Railroad, played Workplay in Birmingham, and several venues around Nashville.
You can't be late for curfew, but you're up late on the phone, and you don't want to hang up 'cause you got too much to say, and you're hoping that you'll always feel this way. Oh, 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 oh.
Some of the artists I love listening to and have influenced me are Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit and Fleetwood Mac.
Get where we're going, we forgot to put on the brakes. It's like I blink twice, turn around, and all of a sudden it's me.
This is a cut from the EP I'm currently working on, titled So
We
Fast.
were just underneath those Friday night lights, saying how
can find me on Facebook and YouTube under Anna Tamburello Music.
How did we get here so fast? So fast. Oh, how did we get here so fast?
This is Anna Tamburello, and I'm a member of Reverb Nation.
You're listening to the business side of music.
This is Bob Bender with Dawn Beyer. You're listening to this edition of the business side of music. You've given us a lot of insight, and you know, you're young, especially relative to, you know, someone such as myself and people that I've worked over the last 30, 40 years, and say this a lot, the business has changed. But you have really experienced, from, you know, what I can gather listening to you, you've really experienced a lifetime of music, industry-related business in relatively few short years.
Yeah.
Is this something that, let's face it, if a young, still wet behind the ears, fresh young artist came to you and said, hey, you know, what would it take for them to really maybe not make the same mistakes that others have made?
It's basically thinking that in the old Nashville way. And the only thing I can say is, you know, saying, okay, well, I'm a singer. I should move to Nashville and get my voice heard. That's actually not what you need to do. You could just, honestly, I'm a singer. I'm just going to get online here, or I'm going to go start playing for people right now, put myself out there. So even the idea of I'm a singer, let me move to Nashville and get there or make it is kind of off the table at this point. I would think it's kind of an old Nashville way of thinking, because the new Nashville is everywhere. And that's when we're talking about what the real Nashville means. It's the idea of, well, it's all different kinds of music. That's one. And it's everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, the feeling of Music City is really everywhere now. I mean, since I've been most successful the last 2 years, the time I've spent in Nashville has been so little. You know what I mean? Like, it's been all over everywhere playing.
Right.
And so it doesn't have to be like, oh, we're going to move to Nashville. So that's one thing. It's just like, don't get in that old Nashville mindset of, okay, I'm just going to move to Nashville and everything's going to happen for me, I guess basically is what I'm trying to say. It's, you got to make it happen for yourself. And the thing about it is you can now. So that's more of a reason for a record label executive to go, well, what have you been doing since before we came and found you here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even if that's what you want and you want to sign a record label deal, that's cool. It's just figuring out, what is that for you? What is making it for you? Maybe making it for you is having your own label, because it's easy to make one. It's easy to have your own label. It's easy to have your own publishing company. It's easy to do all of that. Then you have the platform.
And distribution has become so much easier. You know, we're not trying to cram music into Walmarts and Targets and Best Buys.
Right.
It's so much of a download process now, or a streaming process, that distribution.
Yeah.
And you carry your own merchandise, right?
Yes. So I make my own merchandise. Like, I order it from a company that is just kind of a mom and pop place that's awesome and works with me well, and they send stuff out to me, and then I just carry it around with me, and then we sell it online.
And that becomes another revenue stream, of course.
And yes, of course, yeah. And honestly, I mean, getting your music out there, getting your music liked, getting your music heard, that all leads to what I think, as far as income goes, the stuff you make money on is, you know, getting booked, but also like your merch, even more than albums and stuff sometimes, you know?
Well, and it really can become kind of the ancillary to, you know, you almost have to take the CD and incorporate the actual physical CD into your merch sales now, instead of thinking about you're going to put it in a store.
Right. And if you want big distribution, then you put it on iTunes and stuff. But maybe what you want is just to sell one album at a time, and you want to really connect with people, which is what I've been doing for the past couple of years. And I'm just now getting on iTunes only because it's kind of turned a corner where I'm like more focused on getting booked as much as I can, getting the merch moved as much as I can, and not as much like where I was. It was in such a small, I was so small and connecting with one person at a time. The CD sales were actually like paying for me to get my merch and stuff, because what I was charging for my albums. I mean, I charged $22 for an album on my website because I told people, hey guys, I'm going to be buying a new album, creating new albums, getting new merch and stuff like that. And I'm doing it all myself. So that's why I'm selling this album for that much.
But, you know, $22, when you think about going to a live show, whether it's at a club or an auditorium or the local fairgrounds, that's really typically the price anyway, because it is, I've always called it, it's an emotional purchase. And, you know, someone likes what they hear. And especially if, you know, they get a minute of one-on-one time with the artist and get the CD signed, it's worth the the $20-$25 for the cost of the CD.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It really depends on. It's like I've been very open about. Now I'm to a point where I'm booked so often. I'm doing some other things. So for me, putting my songs on iTunes right now makes sense for me. How I was doing it before, I just tell people, I'm like, look, this is how I make money to create my next album, and I'm really doing it by myself. And so there's almost a way for them to kind of support, or even it's just like hitting the tip jar. When they're paying $22, you're explaining to them, you're like, look, this, for me to be able to even keep creating new music just on my own. I mean, think about it. You know how much that kind of stuff costs to just even record an album. I mean, right now I'm recording a full band album, and it's ridiculous.
That cost is still there no matter what.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing. And when people, it's all about connections. And that's one of the most important things I talk about in any of my programs too, is like, it's about connections, like how you're making connections, because those connections are going to be the people that are going to share your stuff every time. They're going to follow you wherever you're playing because you took the time to make those connections. That's every, someone told me something, and it was actually the guy who managed Taylor Swift, told me that he said, I said something to her that she really picked up on and went with it and ran with it. And it was, if you want to sell 1,000 CDs, you have to meet 1,000 and shake 1,000 hands. And that made so much sense to me.
Exactly. That's actually a good quote.
Yeah.
So, Dawn, how do people reach you?
You can reach me. So if you're an artist, and I know there's probably a lot of artists that listen to this podcast, which this is awesome that you're doing this. Way cool. I'll have to go and listen to some of the other ones. Just email me, dawn@therealnashville.com. You can also go to therealmakingit.com and start the program, The Real Making It, just to kind of get some clarity if you're at the beginning of, okay, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing, but I know I want to play music, or I know I want to paint, I know I want to write, but I can't do it this way. It's like how I felt on Broadway. I'm like, I love that I'm playing my music, but I can't keep doing it this way. I need some other way. And you just want to get some clarity. That's a good course to take. And then making it on Facebook is the one that I'm going to be finishing up this week. So I'm really excited to launch, because it's going to be just the steps and everything I learned about taking Facebook Live and totally changing like my whole life in the last 2 years.
Great advice. Appreciate it. Dawn, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for having me.
If you're interested in learning more about our show, drop us a line at musicpodcast@mail.com. That's musicpodcast@mail.com. If you have any suggestions of persons or topics that involve some facet of the music industry that you'd like to hear about on our podcast, please feel free to let us know. You can follow us on Facebook on the Business Side of Music podcast page. You can also find us on Twitter at Music Business Podcast. Also, if you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, post a review on what you think of our show. This is Bob Bender, and you've been listening to this edition of The Business Side of Music.
The Business Side of Music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow and is produced by Bob Bender. Co-producer for the show is Vinny Rivas. The Business Side of Music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Los Angeles, California and Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound designed by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Fuson.